Okay, I'm just gonna check, Mr. President. Megan, you can.
Everyone, welcome to our meeting. This meeting is being held remotely as a quorum of the public body physically present is not practical or prudent due to the state's declaration of disaster due to the impacts of COVID-19. Can all participants hear me? You say yes?
Yes, Mr. President.
Yes, Mr. President.
Yes.
Okay. So I'd like to welcome everyone. It's good to see so many people on. Can we all just rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance
To the flag
Of
United
the United States of America,
and to the republic
for
for which it stands,
which it stands,
one
one
nation,
nation,
under God, indivisible, with liberty
with liberty
and
and
justice.
justice for all.
Okay, again, welcome. Megan, will you call the roll, please?
Yes, trustee Casera?
Here.
Trustee Lautner is absent. Trustee Zora?
Here.
Trustee Seidel?
Here.
Trustee Council?
Here.
Trustee Sheehan?
Here.
President DeCipio?
Here.
A quorum is present, Mr. President.
Thank you, Megan. Next up is public participation. I'm going to move number 17, which was public participation of non-agenda related items up. But first, we're going to do the public participation of agenda related items only. Is there anyone on the call that would like to speak to the board about agenda related items only? Okay, seeing none. If it's okay with the board, I'd like to move number 17 on the agenda up. So now we will do public participation of non-agenda related items. So we have a full agenda tonight, everyone. This is a time when we allow members of the public to comment on items that are on our agenda and items that are not on our agenda. Anyone wishes to speak on the matter which is on the agenda, please raise your hand. We've already been through that. Those that would like to talk on non-agenda related items, we will call on you. How many would, everybody's on audio, so we can't really raise our hands here, but it looks like there's going to be quite a few that are going to talk, Julia. So before we begin, I'd like to make a couple comments on the non-agenda related items. I would like to make a brief statement on recent social media allegations involving a contract accepted by the Board of Trustees of the Lagrange Park Library District. The Lagrange Park Library District is a legally separate and distinct governmental body from the Village of Lagrange Park. We have separate taxing authority, separate governance statutes, separate presidents and trustees, and separate powers. The village does not consult with the library board in its decisions, nor do they consult with the village on our decisions. When I use the word village, I mean the municipal corporation that is the Village of Lagrange Park. Certain individuals have complained recently on social media and in private mailings to our residents about the library board's decision to hire an architectural firm whose principal is an elected village trustee. The village had nothing to do with that decision, and I encourage any of you with questions or complaints about the decision or the library board's reason behind its decision to please contact the library board. With that, I will allow public comments on non-agenda related items. It seems like we have a lot of people that would like to speak, so I'm going to limit everyone's talk to 2 minutes. We'll let you know after a minute and a half that you have 30 seconds left. I encourage any of you with questions or complaints about the decision. If you have submitted written comments to the village, we will read those comments when we're done with those that want to speak. If you speak, we will not read your written comments. So we will monitor that. You cannot divide up your 2 minutes. You can't do a minute and give someone else a minute. You get 2 minutes. If you don't use it, we just move on to the next speaker. So with that, Julia or Maggie, I would like to entertain the first speaker that would like to speak to the board. And when you speak, if you could just please give your name. Who's up?
Okay, folks, with regard to public comment, who would like to be the first person to speak for the meeting this evening? You can raise your hand, you can say hello. And if you just say hello, then we can get the public comment started.
Does anybody want to speak to the board? Nobody wants to speak to the board.
I do, but I want
Okay.
you to read my comments, so I'm going to have to settle for that, I guess. My
Yeah,
name is
either
John
one.
Chadwick.
Yeah, Mr. Chadwick, either one, we read your written or you speak, one of the two. What
Okay,
would you-
I will speak.
Okay, thank you.
My comments are with respect to this letter that Ann Bennett sent to the residents last week and the responses from the village and the library about it. I'm a resident who was born here in Lagrange Park in 1964. I've lived 42 of my 56 plus years here, folks. I've always more or less believed that I could trust my village board to look out for all of our interests, but I have now lost that faith in this board because of this. I find Trustee Zara's dealings with this library contract very troubling and disappointing. As Ann stated in her letter, the fact, and I understand this as a fairly intelligent guy and as a lawyer, the fact that there's a distinction between the taxing bodies, for me as a taxpaying resident, means virtually nothing. And I think it's unconscionable for this board or for a board member to hide behind that technical distinction, okay? And even assuming that this matter isn't involving anything illegal or in violation of a statute or code, it's nonetheless a gross misfeasance, ladies and gentlemen. That's defined as something that's not unlawful, but that is nonetheless inappropriate. I think it's very inappropriate for an elected official in our town, which I've always thought was better than many and most other towns, to be involved with financially benefiting from a project funded by public dollars, code of conflict or not. And I want to know, to Ms. Zara, did you at any time contemplate?
John, this is not a discussion. Make your comments. There's no.
I want to know if Ms. Zara at any time contemplated refraining from submitting a proposal on this project. And if so, then why did she change her mind about it? And I think that if she had all of our residents' interests at heart, she would have done something upfront, such as, say, mailing a letter to all of us, well before the decision was made, letting us all know and inviting us to put some meaningful input into this decision.
Okay, thank you, John. Who's up next? Come on, guys, let's go. Who's up?
Who would like to speak next?
I will. Can you see, everybody hear me and see me?
Yes.
Okay, let me just make sure I'm turned off. I am the infamous Ann Bennett, shadowy lawyer everybody has dubbed me as. I do want to say that I wanted to respond formally to the village and the library board instead of through some online tabloid news outlet. And I understand too as a lawyer, but I did send this mailer out in my private capacity as a taxpayer for the village of Lagrange. And because I was extremely concerned about the conflict of interest that this arrangement presents not only to the taxpayers who have not had an opportunity to have a really transparent view of this project. And I say this from a point of, I only became aware of the whole project when I received a email blast from the library regarding this little podcast. And there I am working at my desk, and I'm like, sure, okay, I'll listen to this. And I became very concerned for a number of reasons, particularly because with my 26 years of federal service, I understand the importance of conflict of interest and how that can be perceived to the taxpayers and the voting public. And when you're in a position of trust, you want to know, as in the position that I have held, that when we would come into a entity, that we wouldn't be unduly influenced by when we were doing any sort of legal investigation, so that they realize that their findings were fair and unbiased. As a result, I became more aware after listening to that podcast, to do a little bit more digging, which I actually didn't realize, that we were having a large library renovation. And I was concerned because I know also from my experience being a project management professional as well as a lawyer, that it is so important during the RFP process that it be very private, into the sense that there is no undue influence, and that when it comes to a project, that especially with a municipality, that in order to get voter and taxpayer buy-in, you want the people to be involved in that. And I didn't see that reading the minutes from the library, as well as going into all of the huge minutes for the village board.
And excuse me, excuse me, you've got 15 seconds left.
Okay, and hence why I wrote that particular letter. My issue with this whole process is that there is a legal regulation, a Illinois Copiah statute, that regardless of the municipality issue, as we have discussed, still precludes Ms. Zara from actually taking this contract, because that particular site, and I did send that to in advance.
Want your name here?
And let me just say that for you. It's Illinois Copiah statute, so that you have.
And excuse me, respectfully, we've got to cut you. You're way past your time.
I do have.
I'm sorry?
I would like you to be able to address the issue then, either with me offline or something, regarding the issue with trustee Concel's behavior.
I'd be more than happy to. Thank you. Thank you, Ann. Okay, who's next?
Hi, folks. Who would like to speak next? Just say hello. That's all you have to say, is hello if you'd like to speak.
You have to unmute yourself, though.
Yeah, you might. Yeah, thank you, Kathy. Folks, if you'd like to speak, just push the unmute button on your screen and just say hello, and we'll get you next in
Hello?
line.
Hello?
Yes.
I've got two
Hi.
people. Hello. Hi, speaker. Would you like to say your name and provide public comment?
Linga,
Okay, Linda?
I'm sorry?
Please
What's your
state your name, Linda. What's your last?
Linga, Linga.
Okay, what comments
We
would
need a
you like?
last name.
I don't have any comments. I just want to listen to you guys.
Okay,
What's going on in the
Thank you.
village?
okay, thank you.
That's
Come on,
good.
Thank
guys.
you.
The agenda
Hello.
tonight. If you want to speak to the board, let's get online. Come on.
All right, hello.
Yes.
All right, my name is Marilyn. My name is Marilyn Stroney. I was unable to get onto the meeting, onto the Go Meeting app. It's still circling, but I'm doing this via my telephone. I did make a statement about more open dialogue and more visibility, and I'll use a word that I'm very familiar with, which is transparency. And I've been in our village for 35 plus years, and I have not seen that. And that's of a concern to me. That's regarding the library renovation. That's regarding our garbage pickup. That's regarding something as simple as our snow removal. So I am asking for more visibility, more transparency, whatever other 4 or 5 syllable word you'd like to use. Now, I look back on the past site, which I was referred to, and a couple of other sites, and I found no notices. So I think we need to have them a lot more, I'll use the same words again, with visibility, transparency, or whatever other word you'd like to use. That's my comment.
Thank you, Marilyn. Okay, who's next? You know, it might help if you are not speaking to turn your mic off and put it on mute. Then we're not going to get so much background noise. Thank you. Okay, who's up? Nobody else wants to speak?
I'll speak. I made a public comment, but I'm fine with speaking as well. So you can disregard my public. Oh, can you hear me?
Yes, your name?
Disregard my public comment. I'll just speak on behalf.
Melissa, state your name, please.
Melissa McFeeters.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And I think the village has done a great job with visibility and having communications with what's going on with the village through the, the Roses newsletter and stuff like that. And the library has put out a lot of information in the emails that the village puts out. In regard to what's kind of going on right now, I feel that 845 Design was the correct architect firm chosen to do the required work for the library, and there is no conflict of interest. Like people have said, the village and the library are separate entities with their own publicly appointed boards. And so they don't really vote on each other's decisions. Secondly, I did listen to the library podcast, and it states 845 Design was chosen because, in quotes, they had worked on a building with very similar problems as ours, really identical exterior problems, and also problems with the noise within the building, end quotes. And the podcast actually indicates that the building 845 Design fixed, the one with the similar issues, was actually a building designed by the same architectural firm who originally designed and renovated the Lagrange Park Library. I mean, it's very rare to have this level of relevant experience. I also looked at the other firm and reviewed their entire project portfolio that was listed on their website. I mean, I could only go off of what was on their website. And while impressive, like I only found new builds, additions, and interior renovations. So listening to the podcast and reading the building project information that's listed on the library's website and has been listed on the library website for quite some time, the main issues are exterior. So I would want a firm with experience, and even better with exact experience, like literally exact experience, to fix the issues once and for all so that we're not having to fix the library yet again. And then lastly, I think it's amazing that a local resident who has vested interest in the town, who's clearly proud of her town. I mean, she's volunteered for the past 6 years, volunteered, like it's not a paid position, volunteered for the past 6 years to serve the village, that she's even willing to take this project on. This is her home library. the one she drives past, the one she takes her kids to, the one she meets up with friends at, and she actually gets a chance to help it. I mean, there's no one better qualified or better to take care of our and her precious, amazing community resource. Okay, so I think it's in the best interest of the village for Jamie Zara to continue representing the town as recently reappointing trustee and her firm 845 Design to be the library architect. Thank you.
Thank you, Melissa. Okay, who's next?
Hi, everyone. If you would like to speak, all you have to do is unmute and say hello, and you can get started on your public comment.
Okay, we've got quite a few callers on. Nobody wants to speak to the board.
Trying to get through here. This is Don Nelson. Hello,
Hi, Don.
I've got a bad connection. Just going to do audio if that's okay.
Sure.
My wife and I have been residents of the community for 30 plus years, have never had anything but the greatest respect and appreciation for the library. And my comments actually are not at all about the worthiness of the project. I have no doubt that the judgment is sound in terms of needing the project to be executed. For that matter, have no reason to doubt that 845 is qualified to do the work. But as Ann said earlier, the apparent question about the impropriety or the inappropriateness of a village trustee co-owning the firm that's taking on the job is very concerning to me. And that to me transcends any specific discussion around whether or not the project has been well articulated. I assume that it is. I assume there's a real need there. But again, it's the conflict of interest question that really concerns me greatly. The other thing I've become aware of that is equally concerning to me, certain members of the board have taken a very personal interest in coming after Ann, to the point that one of the trustees apparently confronted the printer that printed the letters for her. I don't understand why that's acceptable. To me, that the residents of the village have every right to call into question any issue that they think is concerning, and as in this case, raises the conflict of interest questions. I know Mr. DeCipio, Ann had invited you to contact her directly, and I hope that happens, because I'm very concerned about the behavior of at least one of the trustees in lashing out against Ann for raising a completely legitimate question that I think is on the minds of many residents. Thank you.
Thank you, Don. Okay, who's next?
Hey, I'll talk. You got my name, or you got my, can you hear me?
Yes, please state your name.
It's Keen Palmer.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Yeah, you know, I feel the exact same way as the last fella did. I'm not saying I'm not saying that this company is not qualified. I don't know. I'll have to take your word for it that they're qualified. They could be more qualified than all the rest of them. But this is unacceptable to me. I just can't understand how you could do something like that, where you're the same person that's on a board or a trustee is part of the company that is going to make the money off of this. It's just something that normally isn't done, and I'm just totally frustrated with it. I truly am. I've been here for 11 years. I truly want to trust in my local government more. And I do believe you've done a good job with a lot of the things that you send out, the emails that we get. I think that's admirable. But this just isn't. It just isn't. And that's just how I feel.
Okay, thank you, Steve. Who's next?
Hello?
Hello?
We're getting a little bit of
Hello?
an. Hi,
Yes, you
caller.
are.
Hello?
Yes,
Can you hear me?
I can hear
Yes.
you.
Yes, okay, hi, how are you? My name is Jeannie Malco. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, my comments are brief, and my comments basically encapsulate some conversations that I had with residents here in Lagrange Park over the weekend. I've been a resident here since 1976. And in summary, a lot of the residents here find it very troubling that we have a sitting trustee that stands to financially enrich herself by bidding and accepting a publicly funded contract. And they feel that it's much better to stop the project and to rebid it out and to give the project to a company that is independent of Lagrange Park. They feel that it is inappropriate for someone that is serving within the village to be making millions of dollars on a contract. And that's not to say that, that they couldn't do a good job, just like the other commenters said, because even one resident, she told me that this is reminiscent of Washington, D.C. style cronyism, that whether you like it or not, we may have separate boards, we may have separate committees. With that said, everybody talks to everybody. You know who people are. There are social interactions, not just business interaction. Information may be exchanged or they have knowledge of that the general public is not privy to just because of the position they hold. So therefore, the impression is that because people are associated with the village, they do have an inside track to information, which then brings up the library. Did the trustees company have an unfair advantage in bidding for the contract? These are all questions. These are not accusations. These are questions. And that's why the neighbors that I spoke to find this to be very troubling and very concerning. It's a controversy. And then just one last thing that I would like to say is other neighbors told me that they have worked in corporate America their whole lifetime. And if anything comes up that's questionable, it doesn't have to be a conflict of interest, anything. Each year we all have to take training, which is code of conduct training in companies. And we have to ensure that we're not just following the law, but are we working at the most highest ethical standards? Because if we take an action, what is the end result to the reputation of the company? And moving forward, these are things that I would like anyone within the village of Lagrange Park to be thinking. Not just is it legal, but are my actions in alignment with the values and the policies of the village? So if it is allowed that the trustee will stand to financially benefit, then, as other residents told me, we are setting a precedent that it could also happen again in the future. So therefore, the common phrase of cronyism begets more cronyism. That is my comment, and I am speaking based on comments that I've heard from my neighbors over the weekend after we received the flyer from Ann late last week. Thank you, and I'm going to put myself on mute. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, who's next? Anyone else care to speak to the board?
Anybody else care to speak? All you have to do is unmute.
Okay, why don't we do this? Why don't we turn it over, Maggie? Why don't you read the written correspondence, please?
Yes, will do. The first submitted comment is from Terry Lucas. I have been a resident in Lagrange Park for 32 years, and I have always had faith in our local government and a majority of their decisions that have been made over the years. But a huge ball has been dropped with the decision to hire 845 Design Group to design the library. Jamie Zora must resign from her village trustee position immediately and any committee positions that she holds, and a different architectural firm must be chosen for the job. I am shocked that something like this can happen. What is this village becoming? Certainly not trustworthy or fair to the residents. This must be rectified immediately. The next comment was submitted by John Reichert. It has come to my attention that a contract for the renovation of our library has been illegally obtained by a company associated with trustee Zara. This contract should be immediately tabled until a thorough investigation is performed to verify its legality. If found to be against the policy of Lagrange Park, the contract should be canceled and trustee Zara need to resign. In addition, it should be determined who else knew about the conflict of interest and approved it anyway. This $4 million library renovation could also be tabled except for necessary structural repair. The rest of the money could best be used to replace lead water pipes for the better health of our residents. This comment is submitted by Joseph and Sandra Size. We were recently informed that a company owned by current board trustee Jamie Zara was awarded a lucrative contract by the Lagrange Public Library Board for remodeling the library and to address the concerns about deteriorating infrastructure. This smells of corruption and it's highly improper. It sounds like what happens in the city of Chicago. The contract shouldn't be awarded to a company with ties to the Village Board of Trustees, especially when another company had a comparable bid. Both of us think that the contract award should be pulled and that Jamie Zara should resign her position as trustee since this action is improper. We have lived in Lagrange Park for 42 years and nothing has come up that smells of impropriety in all of those years as this. Please make sure that our village remains beyond ethical reproach. This comment is submitted by Eric Olson. I am writing this in response to a mailer I received the weekend of April 23rd, 2021, regarding 845 Design Group's award of the Lagrange Park Library renovation project. I have been a resident of Lagrange Park since 2018. I have 3 boys who attend Brook Park, Gross, and RB. My wife and I volunteer in a lot of community activities. I coach youth football and baseball. My wife is heavily engaged in the Scouts Troop 111. We enjoy living here and care very much about the integrity of our community. I am also a partner in an architecture and engineering firm based in Chicago and have hired 845 Design Group as subconsultants on large projects we pursue. We have also worked with them on some other local projects, Post Oak 31 and Blackberry Market in Lagrange off the top of my head. As a client to 845, I can say 845 does a superb job. We will hire them again. They are professional, courteous, and have a competitive fee. They hit deadlines and efficiently negotiate any amendments in the project lifecycle. As a resident of Lagrange Park, I appreciate we have people like Ms. Bennett looking out for what might be considered questionable politics. I'm no fan of a large portion of Illinois politics that revolve around cronyism and kickbacks. I certainly don't want to see that in LGP. But for the past year, COVID has conditioned us to reach out to our neighbors to lift them up. Specifically, shopping locally. Here we have a neighbor who is more than qualified to perform this service to the community. We can support a local resident. I'm in favor of that rather than shipping the revenue to another firm who won't reinvest those proceeds locally. I believe Jamie and 845 Design Group to be an honest professional firm. This is a tough industry for a small business to get ahead because there are so many large, well-known, established firms out of Chicago that will consume as much business as they can while starving out the smaller firms just trying to make it. I think the village board made the correct decision selecting 845 Design Group to execute this contract. The next comment is submitted by Suzanne O'Neill. I am writing to you to voice my support for Jamie Zara and her 845 Design Group to redesign the library. I feel that Ms. Bennett's accusations are completely unfounded and not researched at all. Ms. Bennett does not know the structural details and extent of the work that the library needs in order to best serve our community. Zora's extensive knowledge in architecture and design were a huge factor in her winning the bid. There is no need to look further. She contracted out building enclosure architects to help her plan. Furthermore, as a resident of LGP, I feel that a local design company is the best bet for a local project. Zora and her firm will have the village's best interest at heart. Zora, being a village trustee, is not a conflict of interest considering the boards are separate entities. It is unfortunate that this woman is slandering a reputable design firm and working against keeping the project locally invested. The next comment was submitted by Lisa Ritter. I am a resident of Lagrange Park and have been for 9 years. I do not see any conflict between Jamie's volunteer work as the trustee and her job as an architect getting the job for the library remodel. She will have the best interest in the library since she is also a resident. The next comment is submitted by Kevin Hector. Like everyone else in the village, I recently received a letter from one of our residents, Ann Bennett, wherein she recused one of our trustees, Jamie Zora, of wrongdoing. I assume that you are familiar with these accusations. Ms. Bennett encouraged residents to get in touch with you to let you know what we think about this matter, so that's what I'm doing. My view, simply stated, is that Ms. Bennett has wildly overstated the case against Ms. Zora. While the village may want to consider whether trustees should meet an above reproach standard when it comes to potential conflicts of interest, it seems clear from Ms. Bennett's own argument that Ms. Zora has not violated our statutes. I would go one step further. If anyone has done something wrong here, it is Ms. Bennett. To my mind, if a lawyer takes it upon herself to level such serious accusations against a trustee, and indeed to circulate those accusations to the entire village, she had better make sure that her case meets the very highest evidentiary standards. What we find in the letter, however, is neither probative evidence nor careful argumentation, but insinuation. Here are 3 particularly egregious examples that illustrate this point. First, on page 2, Ms. Bennett cites a passage from the minutes of the library trustees meeting. Here we find mention of, quote, local tie-ins, end quote, as one of several reasons for choosing 845 Design Group for the project. Ms. Bennett then characterizes this passage as evidence of a connection between Zora's trustee position and the award of the project to her firm. Yet the passage itself tells us no such thing. It tells us merely that the firm's local tie-in factored into the decision. Needless to say, Ms. Bennett should be careful about inferring from this that Ms. Zara's trusteeship is the factor to which the library trustees are here referring, since they could just as easily be referring to the fact that the design group is based in Lagrange, or the fact that Ms. Zara is a Lagrange Park resident, or the fact that Ms. Zara and her family have been longtime patrons of the library. The point is, Ms. Bennett's characterization of the evidence is clearly unwarranted and indeed a distortion of what the library trustees actually said. 2, a few paragraphs down, Ms. Bennett summarizes the evidence she has presented as demonstrating that, quote, based on the library's own explanations, Zara's position as village trustee clearly was an unduly influential factor in the library trustees' selection of 845 Design Group, end quote. Ms. Bennett has presented 2 pieces of evidence in support of this conclusion, one of which I discussed in part 1. The other piece of evidence comes from a podcast in which Gabe Oppenheim mentions that, quote, one of their 845 Design Group's principals is a trustee that really intimately knows the community, end quote. 2 things are worth noting here. On the one hand, Gabe Oppenheim is not a library trustee. He is the adult services director. As such, it is not clear how one could infer anything about the library trustees' deliberations from his statements. On the other hand, note while the emphasis here is not on Ms. Zora's trusteeship, but on her intimate knowledge of the community. Here again, then we have no evidence that, quote, Zora's position as a village trustee, end quote, was, quote, an unduly influential factor, end quote, in the village's decision, much less clear evidence to that effect. Ms. Bennett's conclusion is thus unsupported by her own evidence. Needless to say, I would expect better from a lawyer, particularly when they have taken it upon themselves to tarnish someone's reputation. And third, that brings me to one last example. After drawing these unwarranted and frankly reckless inferences, Ms. Bennett concedes that the library is not, in fact, the village, which is tantamount to conceding that even if the preceding inferences have not been warranted, this would still not entail that Ms. Zora had done anything illicit, for the simple reason that the relevant section of the municipal code refers specifically to conflicts of interest arising from work done for the village. Ms. Bennett helpfully provides this evidence against her position on page 1 of her letter. Having conceded this, Ms. Bennett then tries to blunt its force by making a frankly astonishing assertion, quote, municipal code notwithstanding, she writes, any entity that takes our tax dollars, such as a library, is the government, period. Therefore, this is the business of the village, end quote. Well, no, even if it is true that any entity that takes our tax dollars is the government, it would not thereby follow that any entity that takes our tax dollars is the village. Forgive me for saying so, but this reminds me of the sort of example I might use in a logic class in order to help freshmen see what bad reasoning looks like. Putting all of this together, I would say again that Ms. Bennett has not demonstrated that Trustee Zara has done anything illegal, far from it. If Ms. Bennett is going to level such serious accusations against one of our neighbors and trustees, she has an obligation to do so, to do a better job of making sure her case rests on solid evidence and sound argumentation, rather than on mischaracterization and hasty, biased inferences. Ms. Zara deserves better. The next comment was submitted by Joanne Van Etten. I would like to state my frustration with how easy it seems for one individual to publicly defame a member of our village board in regards to the library project. It has been proven and stated that there is no conflict of interest, yet this individual continues to blame blast Jamie Zora's name. This is wrong and needs to stop. The library and the village are two separate entities and should be treated as such. Our village is lucky to have people like Jamie who are invested in the future of our community. The next comment is submitted by Valerie D. In regards to the issue of the perceived conflict of interest between Trustee Zara and the LGP library contract, I would be remiss not to express my disdain at the amount of time and resources being used to address what appears to be a matter of opinion. Trustee Zora's dedication to our town is not under scrutiny, nor should it be, as demonstrated by her years of service in this volunteer role. One can and has the right to argue the semantics of what conflict of interest entails, but at the end of the day, what is the actual cost to us all? I'm failing to see how any of what has happened to date has harmed or has the potential to harm us as residents of Lagrange Park. Conversely, it seems as though this entire argument is only distracting those that need to work in our best interests from being able to do so. It has been widely stated that the village and library governing bodies are two separate entities. We know that ignorance of the law does not excuse breaking the law, so why should someone's lack of this knowledge of these bodies constitute a conflict of interest? From where I sit, I'm not sure what we have to gain by asking Jamie Zora to resign, besides losing one of the very few people left willing to volunteer their time for the interests of others. This comment was submitted by Kate Cannon. I am writing, hoping to reach you prior to tomorrow's meeting. Earlier this week, I received a mailer and viewed a Facebook post in which village trustee Jamie Zara was slandered by another resident. While I am all for transparency in government, this resident overstepped and falsely alarmed the entire village, and I believe knowingly. By the way the mailer is worded, this person was well aware the library is completely separate from the village board. I know the patch has since put at least 2 articles out to clear Jamie's name, but I feel something needs to come from a bigger voice within the town and a clear message sent to the resident who is claiming these falsehoods. Lagrange Park is a wonderful village with so much to offer. I don't want to see our good name go down in this unnecessary drama. The next comment was submitted by Nicole Cass. Through local Facebook group posts and an online article in the Lagrange Patch, I became aware of an issue raised of a potential conflict of interest in village trustee Jamie Zara's architecture firm securing a contract to renovate the Lagrange Park Library. The Lagrange Park Library Board voted on this issue, and since Ms. Zara is not a member of that board, I fail to see any conflict of interest. Furthermore, I believe the allegations to be a complete waste of the village board's time and taxpayers' money. Why wouldn't all the residents of Lagrange Park be elated that someone who would utilize the library would also be responsible for its renovation? I appreciate Ms. Zara's service to our community and look forward to the renovation of our library. This comment is submitted by Katie Coutinho. I'm writing this on behalf of Jamie Zara. I know Jamie personally and have found her to be loyal, dedicated, and honest. I am proud to know her and proud of her professional accomplishments. She would do nothing to jeopardize her position professionally and with the village. This comment is from Alice Walter. I would like to comment on the following. 1, Jamie Zara should step down from the Village Board of Trustees. 2, I would like to know more about how my money is being used for the $4 million renovation of the library. Don't I get a voice on this issue? And 3, I would like to a trash container placed at the southeast corner of Garfield and Forest Road where the baseball diamond is located. I live across the street and I'm tired of picking up garbage from the baseball and soccer games. Thank you for your consideration. And lastly, a comment from Megan Utney. I am writing this note in regards to the flyer that was sent out last week claiming a conflict of interest between Jamie Zara and the LGP library contract. I fail to see any benefit to anyone wasting time, money, or resources on researching this further. Also, any calls for resignation of a village trustee position that, last I heard, is voluntary would only be a loss for our village. Costs would be incurred to run a special election or other process to find a replacement, and the people that would be hurt would be our own village residents who would have less overall support from our local government in the interim. From what I understand, there are a couple facts that stand above all others with this issue. First, Trustee Zara is a volunteer and not paid by the Village of Lagrange Park for her time and service to the community. Second, the LGP Library Board and their decisions are not governed by the Village of Lagrange Park Board, and they are two separate entities. How can there be a conflict of interest where these organizations are run separately? Beyond that, I ask this question. Is the Lagrange Park Library in favor of supporting local businesses, or would we rather they work with a firm that does not work within the village and understand intimately the needs and wants of our residents? With Trustee Zara's business being locally run, I see a benefit to the library choosing their architectural services and can only assume that this was one of the many reasons that they went forward with the contract in the first place. It would be a shame to lose someone who has volunteered countless hours to support the betterment of our village and its residents. That's all the written comment.
That's all. Thank you, Maggie. Okay, I have a couple comments I would like to make. I appreciate everybody's input. I respect everybody's opinion, and I encourage you to continue to follow the community's doings in the e-briefs and rose clippings, because that's where information is dispensed. I want to lay it out there right now. There's two issues here, but one issue is the legality of it, and the second is the perception of it. Everything else, the library has made decisions on, and I support the library. I respect everybody at the library, and I encourage them to continue on with this project. The only thing that the village is being looked at right now because of is because of the legality of it. So let's go there. We can differ and we can discuss back and forth whether it's two separate entities or not. Our law states and the law in our code book states we're a separate entity, separate taxing body. Therefore, it's legal for Jamie Zora, Trustee Zora, to do this. On the perception part, first of all, I have never met anybody who is as ethical and honest and family oriented as Trustee Zora. She cares about this community like you wouldn't believe. We all do. Every board member up there is giving of their time for this community. I want you to participate. I want you to come to board meetings. I want you to tell us how we're doing. For 42 years, some individuals said there has been no problems in our village, and I want to reiterate that. I've been president for 16 years. We have never had any problems with anything that we've done. Everything's been above board, transparent. Julia Cedillo, our village manager, Kathy Keating, our village attorney, are the most ethical, honest people I know. They guide our village. We are community oriented. When I hear, and I want you to seriously give us your opinion, disagree when you're not agreeing with us, and that's okay, as long as we do it fairly and we do it openly. But when I see on Facebook or the sites that I don't even go on, I shouldn't say that. I went on it one time, and I'll tell you why. This is why social media is a problem. There was a string that was going on with some residents, and one of them said, we got to get rid of that mobster on the board. I typed back, who's the mobster? Who are you talking about? 5 minutes later, it was taken off. I don't think people understand how damaging their comments can be. Come to the board meeting, come to the village hall when we open it up, and speak to us face to face. Trustee Zora has done nothing wrong here. She has given more to this community than I can say anyone else has. But when I hear things from our residents, and now Our community is one of the best communities ever. We strive and we pride ourselves in keeping our community safe. We have the best police department, we have the fire department, we have public works. We have a great community, but it's disappointing. I want you to communicate with us and disagree if you disagree, but please, let's not get personal with these attacks. I don't think some of these comments that were being made even know who Jamie Zora is personally. They have not sat down and had coffee with this young woman. So how can you say things like, I'm appalled? It smells of corruption, smells of corruption. Well, somebody said that, well, we have cronyism going again, always in Lagrange Park. Where's the cronyism? None of my relatives work here. None of my family works here. None of the board's families work here. If somebody has a situation where there's cronyism or corruption, please come to me and tell me, because I don't know. We strive on doing the best we can for everybody in our community. What is the village becoming? That's a comment that I really take to heart, because when I see comments like contract illegally obtained, folks, this village board is honest and upfront. Now the perception, let's talk about perception. Yeah, the perception's there, but you got to take into account, you just don't jump in and saying that it's illegal, it's deeply disappointing, direct violation of the municipal code, cronyism, corruption. You know, let's get constructive. Let's have a meaningful conversation. Let's get to the root of the issue, and then we agree to disagree. Okay, so Jamie Zora, Trustee Zora, has done nothing illegal here. She has not had an illegal thought in her mind against this community. She has a beautiful family, like we all have families in our community. I don't know how a group of residents can come out and say things. I mean, agree to disagree, yes. But guys, we're in a community of 14,000. We live next door to each other. We're not bad people. We try to do the best. So if you're uncomfortable with the decisions being made by the board, come to the board meeting. Call me, whatever you want to do. Now, the only things that the village board is concerned about tonight, again, is the legality and the perception, and I've addressed both of those. Everything else, the contract, what's going to be done, all village, all library district. And I encourage you to go to their meetings, because they're a great group of people too. I want you to participate in our meetings. I want you to participate in your village. But please, let's do it constructively. Let's not take bad thoughts here and let's call people names and do things. That's not the way we are. That's not Lagrange Park. Thank you all for being here. I appreciate your comments. I'm going to turn it over to our attorney, Kathy Keating, for some additional comments.
Thank you, Jim. Can you hear me all right?
Yes.
I feel compelled to respond legally to a couple of points that have been made tonight in the public comments and also in materials that have been disseminated throughout the village on this issue. I feel that the public comments make it clear that many residents continue to misunderstand the fact that the library district and the village are two legally separate entities, and that's not a technicality, as Mr. Chadwick called it. It is a legal reality. A statement was made in a written material circulated by Ms. Bennett that the village of Lagrange Park collects property taxes levied by the library district and then turns over to the library the tax dollars specified in the library's budget. That is absolutely categorically false. The library levies its own taxes, passes its own budgets, and collects its own taxes. That's why on our tax bills, there's a separate line item for the village of Lagrange Park, a separate line item for the library district, a separate line item for the park district. The Lagrange Park Village is a municipal corporation organized under the statutes of Illinois, namely the Illinois Municipal Code. Many villages combine the municipal corporate entity with subsidiary commissions for parks and recreation and library services. I believe that Hinsdale does that, to name an example. In that example, the village is the same legal entity as its Parks and Recs department and its library department. That's a different structure for a municipal corporation. In the village of Lagrange Park, we have three separate entities: Park District, Library District, Village, three separate entities. The Illinois Municipal Code is the state statute governing municipal corporations. It has anti-conflict of interest laws, specifically Section 55-10 of the Illinois Municipal Code states that elected municipal officers, which include village trustees, are prohibited from having any financial interest, either in their own name or in any entity in which he or she has a substantial interest in, and I'm going to use quotes here, any contract, work, or business of the municipality. That is what the state law says. That's not what we have here, clearly. Then we have section 31.012 of the Lagrange Park Municipal Code, which prohibits village officers, including trustees, from having any pecuniary, which is monetary interest, prohibited by statute, that statute being the Illinois Municipal Code, in any contract, work, transaction, or business of the village. Not another governmental entity of the village. There is no conflict of interest, either perceived or actual, where a village trustee's firm is hired by a separate public body, even if that governmental body happens to reside in the village where the person is a trustee. I spoke to the attorney for the library district, which is a gentleman from the law firm of Klein, Thorpe, and Jenkins, and he said absolutely there is no actual or perceived conflict of interest. His law firm, Klein, Thorpe, and Jenkins, has worked with my law firm since the 1960s in the practice of municipal law. That law firm literally wrote the textbook for the Illinois legal community entitled Conflicts of Interest for Municipal Officials. So when they say there's no actual or perceived conflict of interest, I would hope that you would believe them. Any perception of a conflict of interest has been caused only by the twisting of words and insinuations bandied about by various people. Obviously, neither I nor anyone on our village board can provide the basis on which the library board reached its decision, but I have seen absolutely no evidence to support even a perception of conflict of interest. In fact, the opposite is true. Trustee Zora has assiduously recused herself in the past from any discussion of or voting on any matter involving any client of her architectural firm. All trustees and all zoning commission members have similarly recused themselves from participating in discussions of or voting on matters that come before them in which they might have any indirect or direct financial interest. I'm going to leave you with two takeaways. 50% of the comments that the village has received from the public are challenging the library board's decision. This was not the village board's decision, so please address those comments to the president and board of trustees of the library board. I, as well as the village president, hope that we can get through this. We can stop the mudslinging and move on. Thank you.
Thank you, Kathy. Just two additional comments, then we're going to move on. As far as the legality part of it, there were four groups that looked at this. Two of them law firms, as Ms. Keating has stated, our village attorney. One of them was Ansel Glick, who wrote the IML book. So we've had four groups look at this, and all of them have said there's no conflict. Now, I know what goes on in communities around us. I know how we are with perception when we think something's going wrong and there's corruption and there's government agent, police, politicians going bad. I get it. I see what happens in other communities around us. That is not Lagrange Park. We look at everything very closely. And as Kathy said, Kathy looks at things, we look at things, we have sessions with the board on everything that we work on is to keep transparent. And, you know, a couple of people have said we're not transparent. You know, I argue with you. We've done everything we possibly can to communicate to our residents. I don't know what else we can do. Email, we do everything. And if there's any information you need, please take it upon yourself to reach out to us. Reach out to Julie or reach out to one of us to get the necessary information. And we need to make that information connection before we make decisions or we make comments, because it's hurtful. So again, I want to thank everyone for participating tonight. I think we're going to move on now to the next business on our agenda.
Mr. President,
Yes,
I just wanted to make one point of clarification regarding the name of the law firm. The name of the law firm is Kleinthorpe and Jenkins, not Ansel Blank.
I apologize.
I just want to make sure that was clear.
I've got lawyers in my head. I don't know. Okay, so moving on, we've got consent agenda. Megan?
Thank you, Mr. President. The items on this evening's consent agenda are as follows. A, approval of minutes. 1, Village Board meeting, March 23rd, 2021. 2, Village Board work session meeting, April 13th, 2021. B, action, resolution approving fiscal year 2021-2022 pay plan. Motion to approve a resolution approving pay plan and schedule of authorized positions for fiscal year 2021/22. C, action, fiscal year 2021 police pension contribution. Motion to transfer an amount not to exceed $90,000 from the general fund to the police pension fund so as to contribute the full actuary determined contribution for fiscal year 2021. D, action, motion to authorize the president and chairperson of the finance committee to sign the register for bills and authorize the treasurer and village clerk to sign checks in payment of operating bills and salaries as itemized in the check registers. E, action, motion to authorize the village treasurer and village clerk to sign checks in the payment of payroll and other bills that become due between this date and the next village board meeting with a subsequent approval of the payroll register and voucher register by the Board of Trustees at its next meeting.
Thank you. I'll call for a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
So moved. Moved.
The motion is second. Megan, call the roll.
Trustee Casera,
Yes.
Trustee Zora,
Yes.
Trustee Seidel,
Yes.
Trustee Council,
Yes.
Trustee Sheehan.
Yes.
The motion passes unanimously, Mr. President.
Thank you, Megan. Next on the agenda is the village manager report. Julia?
Thank you, Mr. President. Just one comment I would like to make is that each week, each Friday, the village puts out an electronic newsletter called the e-briefs. It is filled with a lot of really good information. On often occasion, we receive feedback from residents that they appreciate the thoroughness of the communication tool. Some say they look forward to getting it. It's very comprehensive. There's a lot of good information about construction updates, projects that we're working on. It provides a calendar of meetings and contact information as well. If residents would like to sign up for this electronic newsletter, we encourage them to do so. You can do it at the village's website. Alternatively, you can send an email to info@lagrangepark.org, and we would be happy to sign you up to get you connected to the electronic newsletter that we have. It provides all kinds of information locally in and around town, and we have a significant subscription rate in our community. So I encourage folks to connect. And with that, it concludes my report.
Thank you, Julia. Okay, moving on, Administration Committee, Trustee Seidel.
Thank you, Mr. President. There is 4 items on the administration report this evening. Vaccine clinic on Saturday, April 3rd, the Village of Lagrange Park hosted a second COVID-19 vaccine clinic in partnership with Jewel Osco, the Village of Western Springs, the Western Springs School District 101. The clinic took place at the Western Springs Recreation Center and resulted in over 1,600 vaccines being administered. Individuals who received their first dose of the vaccine on March 13th received their second dose at this event. Earth Day presentations. The Lagrange Park Sustainability Commission hosted 2 virtual events this month to celebrate Earth Day 2021. The first presentation focused on the benefits of native trees and available resources for tree selection. The second presentation focused on defining zero waste and outlining best practices for waste prevention. Recordings are available on YouTube and can be accessed through the village's website. Community Volunteer Day. The village's annual Community Volunteer Day will take place Saturday, May 22nd from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. Volunteers will provide assistance to older adults in the community who need help with basic lawn care and spring cleaning. This day of service is a great opportunity for individuals, families, and organizations to support their neighbors and make a positive mark on the community. Visit the village's website to register for the event or to request volunteer assistance. Contact Maggie Jar for more information. The village phone system. Staff is continuing to conduct due diligence and evaluate the proposals from 5 vendors to provide the village with a new cloud-based phone system. Staff is also gathering input from the village's consultant, Sound Incorporated. Then there is one item tonight for discussion and action, and that is collective bargaining agreement, Fraternal Order of Police Patrol Officers. The general background, the 3-year collective bargaining agreement between the Village of Lagrange Park and the Illinois Fraternal Order of Police Labor Council expires on April 30th, 2021. The FOP represents the patrol officers in the Lagrange Park Police Department. In anticipation of the expiration of the agreement, the village has discussions with the FOP on the terms of the successor collective bargaining agreement. The village board has previously considered a 3-year agreement, May 1st, 2018 to April 30th, 2021, where all of its terms, with the exception of the employee health insurance contribution, increased to 18% in year 3, and wages remain the same. The 3-year agreement includes an increase to patrol wages in the amount of 2.2%, 2%, and 2.35% respectively. Accompanying the collective bargaining agreement, the village and the FOP negotiated a new memorandum of understanding providing for a 3-year extension of the 8.5-hour modified patrol schedule. The initial memorandum of understanding carried a 1-year term and was approved by the village board on April 14th, 2020. Village staff and the village's labor attorney, Lisa Calloway, prepared the final collective bargaining agreement and memorandum of understanding for review, consideration, and approval. The membership of the Illinois Fraternal Order of Police Labor Council ratified both agreements on April 7th, 2021. The conditions of the final draft of the collective bargaining agreement are consistent with the board's previous review. It is now appropriate for the board to approve and authorize the execution of the collective bargaining agreement and the memorandum of understanding. This item is for both discussion and action. I make a motion to move to approve a resolution adopting and authorizing execution of collective bargaining agreement and memorandum of understanding between the Illinois Fraternal Order Police Labor Council and the Village of Lagrange Park.
Second.
Second.
A motion and a second. Discussion, trustee Seidel.
We have discussed this. I'm in full support, and this makes complete sense. So I am in full support.
Thank you, trustee Seidel. Trustee Sheehan?
As we've previously discussed, I support this, Mr. President.
Thank you, trustee Sheehan. Trustee Zora?
The village and the FOP have been working hard on this agreement, and I think it's fair and reasonable for all parties, so I support this.
Thank you, trustee Zora. Trustee Kucera?
I also support this, Mr. President.
Thank you, trustee Kucera. Trustee Council?
I support this, Mr. President. Thank you.
Thank you, trustee Council. I want to thank Julie and her staff and everyone who's involved in negotiations. I know it's a laborious project, but you did it, and we have a great resolution here. So, Megan, call the roll.
Trustee Kucera,
Yes.
trustee Zora,
Yes.
trustee Seidel,
Yes.
trustee Council,
Yes.
trustee Sheehan.
Yes.
The motion passes unanimously, Mr. President.
Thank you, Megan. And thank you, trustee Seidel. Okay, moving on, Building and Zoning Committee, trustee Zora.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to report the building department activities for March 2021. 87 building permits were issued in March compared to 51 last March. There have been 170 permits issued so far this year compared to 106 last year. Estimated construction costs for the month were just over $1 million, about 18% higher than last March. Permit fees collected for the month were $21,560.18, 3% less than last March. 145 inspections were conducted this March compared to 74 last month, 26 last March. 26 were not approved. So far this year, staff conducted 394 inspections compared to 239 year-to-date last year. Following final walkthroughs, Enos opened the first week of March. It's great, so you should definitely visit. The food is wonderful. Staff participated in a virtual meeting with architects, designers, and other representatives from Plymouth Place and their board to discuss proposed future development for the East Campus, where the cottages are now located. A permit was issued to bring a new electric service back to the vacant building at 1201 Barnesdale. Building permits for the seasonal garden centers at Jewel and Clovers were processed and issued. Building permits for sign replacement at Bethlehem Woods and Athletico were reviewed and approved. Both projects involved updating their signage and logos. There were 48 code enforcement property maintenance matters addressed this in March. That's all I have.
Thank you, Trustee Dora. Engineering capital projects, Trustee Casera.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have 3 items to report on this evening. Design work was started for the 2020 CDBG grant paving program. The project involves spot curb replacement, pavement patching, and street resurfacing on Meadowcrest Road between 29th Street and 31st Street, and Woodside Road between 29th Street and Meadowcrest Road. The village is receiving a $200,000 grant from the county to be applied toward construction costs, with supplemental construction and engineering costs provided by MFP funds. The project is scheduled for summer construction. Second item, Mr. President, on March 11th, the village publicly opened sealed bids for the 2021 sewer repair program. 4 firms submitted bids for this project. The lowest responsible bidder was Suburban General Construction. The village officially awarded them the contract on March 23rd. Work on the project will begin in April. The project involves point repairs on sewers located throughout the village that were identified by recent televising and cleaning projects. The sewer sections identified for repair represent isolated segments of sewers that need replacement. Final item, Mr. President, Sewer Tech LLC started work for the 2020 sewer cleaning and televising project, Phase 2. This is a yearly maintenance program within the village. After completion, the contractor will provide videos and data logs of all sewers inspected. This information will be reviewed to determine if any sections of the sewers need point repairs or good candidates for sewer lining. Work is expected to be completed in April. That's all I have to report on tonight, Mr. President.
Thank you, Trustee Casera. Public safety, Trustee Seidel.
Thank you, Mr. President. I will read the police department's summary of activities for March 2021. The total number of crimes this year is significantly higher than last year at the same time, with 167 reported this year compared to 70 last year. Again, we have seen a significant increase in the amount of Illinois Department of Employment Security scams, totaling 117 complaints within the month of March. These scams are pandemic related. Traffic enforcement is at 864 total tickets issued through March of 2021. Overall police activity is slightly higher to last year, with 2,081 total incidents reported through March of 2021 compared to 2024 total incidents through March of 2020. The police department welcomed probationary police officer Danielle Hines on March 25th. Officer Hines is a certified peace officer, police officer in the state of Illinois. Welcome, Officer Hines. Officer Frank Slabanek received state certification as a DRV drug recognition expert. Officer Slabanek spent months preparing for this certification. Congratulations, Officer Slabanek. The Foot Patrol program will begin for all shifts of May 1st and continue until October 1st, weather permitting. Please follow us on social media accounts, as we frequently use these platforms to update the community on response procedures while the COVID-19 situation remains active and fluid, as well as police department activities and their status. Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram A friendly reminder about securing one's personal property at all times. Please lock your vehicles and residences, especially during overnight hours. If you are going on vacation, please utilize the new online Vacation Watch portal, frontlinepss.com/Lagrange Park, or log on to the village website and access the portal under the police department page. If you do not have internet access, please feel free to fill out a Vacation Watch card at the police department between the hours of 9 and 4:30. And please contact the department with any questions. That is all for the police department. Next is the fire department activities for March of 2021. EMS incidents this month is 128. There has been 401 year-to-date compared to 376 year-to-date in 2020. Fire rescue incidents this month is 39. There has been 109 year-to-date compared to 102 total year-to-date in 2020. Various personnel assisted with operating the COVID-19 vaccination clinic at the Western Springs Recreation Center. This was a significant joint effort between the villages, School District 101, Jewel Osco, and many others. With COVID-19, obviously there has been changes to high school sports. As such, personnel has been staffing an ambulance to stand by at Nazareth football games for the spring football season. Various personnel participated in MABUS live burn training in the Darien Woodridge Fire Department training tower. Lagrange Park also provided a staffed ambulance to stand by during the event. Monthly EMS continuing education training took place in person for the first time in many months. To allow for room and ventilation, it is being held in the fire apparatus bay at Fire Station Number 1. Fire staff and village administration met with the EMS billing company to discuss our current process and current best practices for ambulance billing. Hazmat technicians attended a hazmat team training session at the US EPA response facility. Over 3 days, some of the firefighters participated in training at the Vulcan Quarry in McCook. Our fire department is due on initial fire responses there. And that concludes the fire department activities for March.
Thank you, Trustee Seidel. Next, public works, Trustee Sheehan.
Thank you, Mr. President. Got the monthly report and 4 action items. So, Public Works winter operations only made 1 appearance in March. The small event that occurred resulted in a quick operation of salting and plowing. As the weather warms, we look forward to the arrival of spring and summer. DPW repaired 2 water main breaks and replaced 3 lead service water lines with new copper pipe for the month of March. Staff completely replaced a crumbling brick catch basin on Ashland, which was posing a safety hazard. A new precast structure was put in place, along with a portion of the lateral line. Overgrown trees and brush along Brainerd's curve, leading to 31st Street, were cut back to open up the village right-of-way. DPW was excited with the arrival of the new CAT 430 backhoe. The machine replaces a 21-year-old machine and has already been put to good use. Tree planting preparations are underway for the spring. Site locations and resident purchase are being verified with the planting schedule for the end of April. For what I've seen, they did a great job. The trees look beautiful from what I've seen planted. The residents seem very happy. Crews were out filling potholes throughout town as weather allowed time to do so. Pothole repair will continue indefinitely. Water meters were read in Section 3. 15 monthly bacterial samples were taken. Various water and sewer work orders were completed, along with resident tree concerns and general construction inquiries. Many water and sewer service calls were completed, along with meter appointments, inspections, and duly locates. Routine maintenance to the department fleet and equipment was performed, as well as police and fire vehicles. Next, Mr. President, we have IDOT resolution, Woodside Road, Meadowcrest Road resurfacing project. The purpose is to approve a resolution with the Illinois Department of Transportation to utilize $210,000 of motor fuel tax funds for the upcoming resurfacing project. The proposed fiscal year 2020-2021 budget includes $210,000 from the motor fuel tax fund to resurface Meadowcrest and Woodside roads in conjunction with the Community Development Block Grant. IDOT requires a resolution passed to appropriate funds from this account. Engineering, $80,000. Construction, $130,000. Hancock Engineer has prepared a resolution for improvement under the Illinois Highway Code for this project. Staff recommends approval of this document. Therefore, Mr. President, at this time, I'd like to make a motion to adopt a resolution for improvement under the Illinois Highway Code for the expenditure of $210,000 in MFT funds.
Have a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
The second discussion, trustee Sheehan?
Thank you, Mr. President. It's great that we have a $200,000 grant to help pay for this project. I support using the MFT funds.
Thank you, trustee Sheehan. Trustee Zora?
Thank you, Mr. President. This is in the budget and we have to maintain our infrastructure, so I support this.
Thank you, trustee Zora. Trustee Kucera?
Thank you, Mr. President. I have no other comments to add, and I am in full support. Thank you.
Thank you, trustee Kucera. Trustee Council?
I am in full support of this, and I applaud the effort of getting the grant not only written, but that we arrived at the funds. Thank you.
Thank you, trustee Council. Trustee Seidel?
I'm in full support and concur with all my other fellow trustees.
Thank you, trustee Seidel. Megan, call the roll.
Trustee Kucera,
Yes.
trustee Zora,
Yes.
trustee Seidel,
Yes.
trustee Council,
Yes.
trustee Sheehan.
Yes.
The motion passes unanimously, Mr. President.
Thank you, Megan.
Okay, next we have the Community Development Block Grant. Approve a sub-recipient agreement for resurfacing Meadowcrest Road and Woodside Road. Staff is seeking approval of a sub-recipient agreement with the Community Development Block Grant, CDBG program. In the spring of 2020, Cook County, through its Department of Planning and Development, called for projects under the CDBG program. Hancock Engineer prepared and submitted the grant for the village to resurface Meadowcrest Road and Woodside Road from 31st, 29th, and 28th Street between Forest Road and Homestead for a total grant of $400,000. In December of 2020, the village received notification that our organization was a grant recipient of $200,000 for the identified project. In addition to the CDBG grant, staff is offsetting the village's part of the cost of the project with MFT and road bond funds to complete the proposed project, except for 28th Street. Once engineering is complete, the design plans require submission to the county for review and approval. Following approval, the project will be bid competitively. Attorney Keating reviewed the IGA and approved it as presented. Staff recommends approving the subrecipient agreement between Cook County and the Village of Lagrange Park for the resurfacing of Meadowcrest and Woodside roads. Make a motion to approve a resolution authorizing execution of a CDBG subrecipient agreement by and between the Village of Lagrange Park and the County of Cook Department of Planning and Development for street resurfacing project number 2006/091, Woodside Avenue and Meadowcrest Road in Lagrange Park.
Motion is second.
Second.
Motion is second. Thank you. Discussion, trustee Sheehan?
Thank you, Mr. President. Yeah, as we talked about in the previous action item, I support this. It's just kind of following up with what we did previously.
Thank you, trustee Sheehan. Trustee Zora?
I echo trustee Sheehan, and great job with the grants again. We all love saving taxpayer dollars, so thank you, staff.
Thank you, trustee Zora. Trustee Casera?
Thank you, Mr. President. I will echo trustee Sheehan and trustee Zora, and I am also in full support.
Thank you, trustee Casera. Trustee Council?
I'm in full support and I applaud the efforts again of getting the grants to help out with this project. It's very important. Thank you.
Thank you, trustee Council. Trustee Seidel?
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm in full support of this as well.
Thank you, trustee Seidel. Megan, call the roll, please.
Trustee Casera,
Yes.
trustee Zora,
Yes.
trustee Seidel,
Yes.
trustee Council,
Yes.
trustee Sheehan.
Yes.
The motion passes unanimously, Mr. President.
Thank you, Megan.
Okay, next we have IDOT resolutions, permeable intersections. To approve a resolution with the Illinois Department of Transportation to utilize $353,630 of motor fuel tax funds for the upcoming permeable paver intersection project. The proposed fiscal year 2020-2021 budget includes $353,630 from the motor fuel tax fund to construct the permeable paver intersection project. IDOT requires a resolution passed to appropriate funds from this account. Engineering, $82,000. Construction, $271,630. Hancock Engineering has prepared a resolution for improvements under the Illinois Highway Code for this project. Staff recommends approval of this document. Therefore, make a motion to adapt a resolution for improvement under the Illinois Highway Code for the expenditure of $353,630 in MFT funds.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second. Thank you. Discussion, trustee Sheehan?
Thank you, Mr. President. While we vote to approve the $353,630, our grant came back north of $600,000 for this project to get our residents in the center section over by Forest Road some relief at those three intersections that they so badly deserve. So I would support this.
Thank you, trustee Sheehan. Trustee Zora?
I would echo that. The goal for the whole village is to improve our stormwater management issues on some of these streets. So I think this is great that we're moving forward with this. Thank you.
Thank you, trustee Zora. Trustee Casera?
Thank you, Mr. President. It is a great opportunity to improve additional infrastructure in our village, so I approve.
Thank you, trustee Casera. Trustee Council?
I approve this in ditto to everything that my trustees have said.
Thank you, trustee Council. Trustee Seidel?
Thank you, Mr. President. I concur with everything that's been said and I support this.
Megan, call the roll.
Trustee Casera,
Yes.
trustee Zora,
Yes.
trustee Seidel,
Yes.
trustee Council,
Yes.
trustee Sheehan.
Yes.
The motion passes unanimously, Mr. President.
Thank you, Megan.
Okay, and then we have the approve a contract with Great Lakes Urban Forestry Management. The purpose is to approve a contract between the Village of Lagrange Park and Great Lakes Urban Forestry Management for a village-wide tree inventory and management plan. On March 9th, 2021, the village approved an agreement with the Illinois Department of Natural Resources and USDA Forest Service for the 2020 through 2022 Urban and Community Forest Grant. The Morton Arboretum is the grant administrator for this project and solicited RFPs from qualified contractors to perform this work. Great Lakes Urban Forestry Management was chosen as the successful bidder and will administer the project deliverables. The grant amount is $20,000 and is reimbursed grant payable back to the village once the project is closed out. The village portion is $4,075 for a total contract amount of $24,075. The preliminary fiscal year 2022 draft budget includes the total contract amount. The purpose of this memo is to approve the total contract amount of $24,075 with Great Lakes Urban Forestry Management as the dollar amount exceeds the village manager's spending authority. Staff recommends approval of the contract between the Village of Lagrange Park and Great Lakes Urban Forest Management. Make a motion to approve and authorize the village manager to enter into a contract between the village and Great Lakes Urban Forestry Management in the amount of $24,075.
Second.
Motion and a second. Thank you. Discussion, trustee Sheehan?
I think it's great that we were able to secure another grant. This is very important to the village. It'll be great to have an actual management plan and inventory as well. So I would totally support this.
Thank you, trustee Sheehan. Trustee Zora?
I also support this. And again, staff has done such a great job with all of these grants. It's really impressive. Thank you.
Thank you, trustee Zora. Trustee Casera?
Okay.
Trustee
Sorry,
Casera?
thank you, Mr. President. Again, I echo trustee Zora's comments. In these tight economic times, the ability to get grants is huge for our village. So thank you to all village staff that works on those grants. I am in agreement.
Thank you, trustee Casera. Trustee Council?
Thank you to staff for reaching out for these grants as well. I think it's going to be a great addition to our town. Thank you.
Thank you, trustee Council. Megan, call the roll.
Trustee Casera,
Yes.
trustee Zora,
Yes.
trustee Seidel,
Yes.
trustee Council,
Yes.
trustee Sheehan.
Yes.
The motion passes unanimously, Mr. President.
Thank you, Megan. Thank you, trustee Sheehan.
Mr. President, can I mention one thing?
You can mention two things. Go ahead.
All right. Since with Public Works, and I find this only fitting, especially since my previous work life, this week is Work Zone Safety Awareness Week. So if you see village trucks or utility vehicles out there, the theme, I guess, for the national is drive safe, work safe, and save lives. So if you see those flashing lights, please slow down. Thank you.
Thank you, trustee Sheehan. Okay, moving on to Finance Committee. Trustee Zora.
Thank you, Mr. President. I will report the finance updates as of March 31st, 2021. Fiscal year to date, general fund revenue is 102.5% of the annual budget and about $370,000 or 4.3% greater than the prior year. Property tax receipts are down about $127,000 or 3.5% compared to the previous year. This is likely a timing variance as the first tax installment of 2020 bills were issued in March, but these were postponed until May. Other local taxes are higher by about $73,000 or 5.4% due to primary sales tax, which is up 20.2% compared to the prior year. Telecommunication tax is down 23.8%. License revenue is down $16,000 or 5.1% from the prior year, primarily due to lower vehicle and dog license sales. The renewal and enforcement periods were moved to the fall in response to the pandemic. Permit receipts are up 33.2% or $76,000. Intergovernmental receipts are higher by about $506,000, 27.6% compared to last year, primarily due to the CARES Act funding received through Cook County. Income tax is 4.3% higher than last year, while use tax is up 32%. Charges for services are down $42,000 or 9.7% due to primarily lower ambulance collection fees. Fine revenue is about $2,600 or 1.7% higher than the prior year. Miscellaneous revenue is about $103,000 lower than last year due to the steep drop in interest and end of the net reimbursements. Total general fund expenditures, excluding the transfer to the capital projects funds, are at 87.8% of the annual budget and about $232,000 or 2.9% lower last year. All departments are within budget expectations. Okay, and then I have two items for discussion and action. The first item, the purpose of this memo is to provide an overview of the Finance Committee's review and recommendations to the Village Board for the fiscal year 2021-22 budget and 5-year plan. The Finance Committee met March 9th and March 23rd to review the draft budget and 5-year plan. A list of recommended changes based on the Finance Committee's discussions are outlined below. Enhance the narrative detail of certain project areas, technology grants and high priority projects in the transmittal memo and budget section introductions. Clarify budget theme and goals in the transmittal memo. Enhance table and chart data to ensure data alignment. Changes, additions to the preliminary budget sidewalk program added 20,000 to 24,000 replacement and grading. Sidewalk segment added 20,000 and telephone system update. This project requires rebudgeting. In the 5-year plan, enhance the narrative detail of certain projects to ensure future planning development. Lead and copper rule, central area storm sewer separation project, officer worn body cameras. The fiscal 2021-22 draft budget and 5-year plan have been amended to reflect those changes. In addition to the changes above, staff recommends that the village rebudget a portion of the ERP, the financial software project, to allow for the completion of the new vehicle sticker software installation. The draft documents also reflect this change. A public hearing on the draft budget was held at our last meeting on April 13th at 7:15 p.m. The village board held its discussion during the subsequent village board work session. The final drafts of the budget and 5-year plan are presented to the village board consideration and approval tonight. I'd like to make 2 motions. The first one is a motion to approve resolution approving the fiscal year 2021-22 operating budget. The second motion is to approve the 5-year plan for the fiscal year of 2021-22 to 2025-26.
Mr. President,
Yes.
Trustee Zora, I would put one motion up.
Oh, sure. I'll just make the first motion then.
At a time. Okay, great.
The first motion is to approve a resolution approving fiscal year 2021 to 2022 operating budget.
Second.
Motion is second, discussion, trustee Zora.
So we had a public hearing. I've met with the Finance Committee, although I'm not the chair. I've met with it. I'm very familiar with what staff done. They've worked very hard on this budget and they've made the changes that were requested by the committee. So I am in favor of approving this.
Thank you, trustee Zora. Trustee Casera?
Thank you, Mr. President. I agree with trustee Zora. There was a lot of work that went into this and discussion. I think we came up with a fantastic budget given the concerns right now, and I am in total support.
Thank you, trustee Casera. Trustee Council?
I'm in full support, Mr. President. The staff and the Finance Committee did a great job putting the budget together. Thank you.
Thank you, trustee Council. Trustee Seidel?
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you to staff and the Finance Committee. It's a great budget, and I'm in full support.
Thank you, trustee Seidel. Trustee Sheehan?
Thank you, Mr. President. Kudos to staff and the Finance Committee. I fully support this.
Thank you, trustee Sheehan. Yes, I do want to add a comment here. Thank you to staff and Larry and our department heads and everyone. Strenuous times this year with what we went through, and we did it, and you guys have come up with a great budget, so thank you. Megan, call the roll.
Trustee Kucera,
Yes.
trustee Zora,
Yes.
trustee Seidel,
Yes.
trustee Council,
Yes.
trustee Sheehan.
Yes.
The motion passes unanimously, Mr. President.
Thank you, Megan. Continue on, trustee Zora.
So the second motion I'd like to make is to approve the 5-year plan for fiscal year 2021-22 to 2025-26. And I would.
Second. Oh, sorry.
No, you're fine. Go ahead.
Okay, Julia, did you have something? Okay, motion is second. Discussion, trustee Zora?
So I would echo my sentiments that I stated previously. Staff did a great job. They worked really hard on this, and I would approve this.
Okay, thank you. Trustee Casera?
I am in agreement, Mr. President.
Trustee Casera, trustee Council?
Full support, Mr. President.
Trustee Council, trustee Seidel?
I'm in full support.
Thank you, trustee Seidel. Trustee Sheehan?
Full support, Mr. President.
Thank you, trustee Sheehan. Megan, call the roll.
Trustee Casera,
Yes.
trustee Zora,
Yes.
trustee Seidel,
Yes.
trustee Council,
Yes.
trustee Sheehan.
Yes.
The motion passes unanimously, Mr. President.
Thank you, Megan. Continue on, trustee Zora.
My second and final item, the village policy requires that the village board amend the annual budget if the total expenditures for the departments or fund will exceed the approved budget. State statute authorizes the village to revise the budget by a 2/3 vote. The following amendments are proposed. The general fund building department budget requires an amendment of $10,000 due to increased plan review fees. The general fund fire department budget requires an amendment of $100,000 to $324 due to the higher than anticipated personnel costs during the pandemic. The Barnesdale Tax Increment Financing Fund requires an amendment of $30,000 due to the stamped concrete project along 31st Street. The 31st North Lagrange Road Business District Fund requires an amendment of $3,500 due to engineering work for the 31st and Lagrange Road Streetscape project. The village board reviewed the proposed amendments at our previous meeting on April 13th work session, and there was consensus to approve. Staff recommends the village board approve the attached budget amendment resolution at tonight's meeting. I'd like to make a motion to approve a resolution amending the fiscal year budget for 2020-21 budget.
Motion a second.
Second.
Second, motion a second. Thank you, trustee Zora.
Thank you. We discussed all of this 2 weeks prior, the night of the public hearing, and we were given an explanation. So I would like to approve this.
Thank you, trustee Zora. Trustee Casera.
In full agreement and support, Mr. President.
Thank you, trustee Casera. Trustee Council.
Full support, Mr. President.
Thank you, trustee Council. Trustee Seidel.
I'm in full support.
Thank you, trustee Seidel. Trustee Sheehan.
Full support, Mr. President.
Thank you. Megan, call the roll.
Trustee Casera,
Yes.
trustee Zora,
Yes.
trustee Seidel,
Yes.
trustee Council,
Yes.
trustee Sheehan.
Yes.
The motion passes unanimously, Mr. President.
Thank you, Megan. And trustee Zora, thank you for giving the finance report tonight.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on next, other reports, village clerk. Megan,
Thank you, Mr. President. I have no report this evening.
our village treasurer, Larry.
No report tonight, Mr. President.
Thank you, Larry. Commercial revitalization, trustee Casera.
Thank you, Mr. President. It is with a very heavy heart. This is my last report. It's a great report. I'm going to do everything I can to get through it. If I can't, please, somebody pick up. This has been my passion. So the first item is that our Hop District Community Brewers, 23 East 31st Street. On April 20th, a public hearing was held before the Planning Zoning Commission to consider an application for a special use permit for outdoor dining at 23 East 31st Street. The applicant provided testimony and described their plans for an opening a microbrewery on the property, including beer brewing area, interior seating area, and lounge, and proposed beer garden. Staff delivered an overview of the zoning analysis, and numerous members of the public provided comment. The commission voted unanimously to recommend approval of the special use permit to the village board. Second piece, Memorial Park multi-use court project. The Community Park District kicked off the Memorial Park multi-use court project with the groundbreaking ceremony on April 14th. The project includes a number of outdoor fitness amenities and is supported by funding from the Village Market Tax Increment Financing TIF District. Murphy's Transmission and Complete Auto Repair, 1117 East 31st Street. The village has approved engineering and building plans for the expansion of the existing auto repair facility. The building permit will be issued once a contractor is selected. Final piece, Mr. President, Village Market Code Enforcement. Staff recently submitted an official letter to the business owners and the property management company at the village market that outlines all code enforcement violations and the required time frame for bringing the property into compliance. That concludes my report. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Trustee Casera. On behalf of the, I'm sure the board and the entire staff, it's been a privilege to serve with you. And good luck in your future endeavors, Trustee Casera. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you to the board, staff, and the residents and business community of Lagrange Park.
You're a class act, Trustee Casera. Okay, moving on. Village engineer, Mark.
No report tonight, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mark. And our village attorney, Kathy?
Village President, I have no report.
Thank you, Kathy. So motion to approve committee and collectors reports?
So moved.
Motion to approve.
Second? Second?
Second.
Second. Okay. Thank you. Megan, call the roll.
Trustee Kucera,
Yes.
trustee Zora,
Yes.
trustee Seidel,
Yes.
trustee Council,
Yes.
trustee Sheehan.
Yes.
The motion passes unanimously, Mr. President.
Thank you, Megan. Okay, moving on. I have 3 proclamations to read, but first I just want to thank all the residents that participated in tonight's meeting. Hopefully soon we'll get back to the village hall so we can see each other face to face, which is always better than what we're doing now. But again, I want to thank everyone for participating. Okay, Arbor Day 2021. In 1872, Sterling Morton proposed to the Nebraska Board of Agriculture that a special day be set aside for the planting of trees. This holiday, called Arbor Day, was first observed with the planting of more than 1 million trees in Nebraska. Arbor Day is now observed throughout the nation and the world. Trees can reduce the erosion of our precious topsoil by wind and water, cut heating and cooling costs, moderate the temperature, clean the air, produce life-giving oxygen, and provide habitat for the wildlife. Trees are a renewable resource, giving us paper, wood for our homes, fuel for our fires, and countless other wood products. Trees in Lagrange Park increase property values, enhance the economic vitality of our business areas, and beautify our community. Whereas the village of Lagrange Park has been designated a Tree City USA for 34 years by the National Arbor Day Foundation, and wherever they are planted are a source of joy and spiritual renewal. Therefore, the village of Lagrange Park proclaims Friday, April 30th, 2021 as Arbor Day. Building Safety Month 2021, prevent, prepare, protect, building code save. Whereas the village of Lagrange Park is committed to recognizing our growth and strength depends on the safety and economic value of our homes, buildings, and infrastructure that serve our citizens, both in everyday life and in times of natural disaster. Whereas Building Safety Month is an international campaign celebrated in May to raise awareness about building safety, sponsored by the International Code Council to reinforce the need for the adoption of modern, regularly updated building codes, helping individuals, families, and businesses understand what it takes to create safe and sustainable structures. Whereas all our code officials work day in and day out to keep the public safe, our building department issued over 1,000 permits and conducted over 1,500 inspections this past calendar year. Whereas all communities need building codes to protect their citizens from disasters like fires, weather-related events, and structural collapse. Building codes are society's best way of protecting homes, offices, schools, manufacturing facilities, stores, and entertainment venues. Whereas prevent, prepare, protect, the theme for Building Safety Month 2021 celebrates advances in constructing safe, sustainable, affordable, and resilient buildings and homes. Therefore, the Village of Lagrange Park proclaims May 2021 as Building Safety Month. And finally, the last proclamation, 52nd Annual Professional Municipal Clerks Week. Megan, listen up. This is for you, Megan. Thank you. Whereas the office of the professional municipal clerk, a time-honored and vital part of local government, exists throughout the world. Whereas the office of the professional municipal clerk is the oldest among public servants. Whereas the office of the professional municipal clerk provides a professional link between the citizens, local governing bodies, and agencies of government and other levels. Whereas professional municipal clerks have pledged to be ever mindful of their neutrality and impartiality, rendering equal service to all. Whereas the professional municipal clerk serves as the information center on functions of local government and community. whereas professional municipal clerks continually strive to improve the administration of the affairs of the Office of Professional Municipal Clerk through participation in education programs, seminars, workshops, and the annual meetings of their state, provincial, county, and international professional organizations. Whereas it is most appropriate that we recognize the accomplishments of the Office of the Professional Municipal Clerk. Therefore, the Village of Lagrange Park recognizes the week of May 2nd through May 8th, 2021 as Professional Municipal Clerks Week. And further extend that the Village of Lagrange Park has the best municipal clerk ever in Megan Quay and all the other professional clerks in the vital services they perform. But we do have the best. And Megan, thank you for all your service to our community. Okay, any new business?
Thank you, Mr. President.
Welcome, Megan. Any new business?
Mr. President,
Yes.
I would like to just say a few words about Trustee Casera, if I could, since it's his last meeting.
Absolutely.
Jim, you and I came on together, hard to believe, 8 years ago. It was a pleasure serving with you. You dedicated a lot to this village, the revitalization committee, and all your efforts. It's been a pleasure working with you, and know for a fact that your legacy will live on a long time in this town. It's been a pleasure, my friend.
Thank you, Mike and Sheehan, my neighbor.
Trustee Costera,
Yes, Mr. President.
we're going to see you next meeting.
I will be there, sir.
Perfect. Well, we'll say our goodbyes then, huh?
Definitely. And I hope I get a chance to make a couple of statements. They will be very short, but from the heart.
You'll get all the time you need, Trustee Casera. Okay, moving on to executive session. Trustee Sheen, will you make a motion, please?
I will, Mr. President. Make a motion to move into executive session for the purpose of discussing the selection of a person to fill a village commission or committee according to 5 ILCS 120/2C3.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Megan, call the roll.
Trustee Casera,
Yes.
Trustee Zora,
Yes.
Trustee Seidel,
Yes.
Trustee Council,
Yes.
Trustee Sheehan.
Yes.
The motion passes unanimously, Mr. President.
Thank you, Megan. And again, to everyone, all the residents that were participating tonight, thank you. Hope to see you again soon. And we'll move into executive session.